Hi, this is Mark News from Plant Talk Radio. Thanks for subscribing and listening to our podcast, Your Gardening Questions from Plant Talk Radio. If you have a gardening question you'd like our host Fred Howard to answer, send him an email. The email address is fred@planttalkradio.com. Now for today's question. Linda just sent us an email, and she says, what is the name of the trees blooming right now that have large clusters of bloom that are creamy in color? The blossoms look like large lilac blossoms. They're beautiful. I've seen them planted along rows, along driveways or streets or roadways. I would appreciate your help. Thank you.
Well, Linda, I think you're describing a plant that in my yard has just finished its bloom. It sounds very much like Japanese tree lilac. I believe that's what you have seen. I'm not sure where you're calling in from or texting in from, but at the same time, Japanese tree lilac is without a doubt the first thing to come to my mind. Mm-hmm. There is a white fringe tree that is in bloom right now that, it depends on where you are. It could resemble that, but I have a hunch when you talk about the various uses on streets and yards and etc. It's the Japanese tree lilac. Now there are several. One of which is I call it the base plant. It will be more creamy. There are some that are more white. They're a plant that can grow from probably a minimum of 12 feet. You could keep it pruned at that without much effort. And then the one in my backyard and the one on the streets in the near area are heading up into that 18, almost 20-foot range. And a short story on my travels, I was cutting across farm country to get from one town to the next for interviews and so on. And I came up over a rise and looked out, I don't know, quarter mile, half mile, somewhere in that range. There were these humongous masses of white, and I couldn't figure out what in the dickens I was seeing. And it was an old Southern mansion-looking house, and I wasn't paying any attention to traffic at that moment. There hadn't been any. But as I slowed to study these trees, I finally practically locked up the brakes to get a better look, and the guy behind me, I can lip read.
Okay.
But anyhow, I think that's what you've described, Linda. I hope so. White fringe comes in close. I don't know what else it would be at this point, other than perhaps an old type of hydrangea that has great big white flowers on it. But they will be more of a ball or a cone shape, and of quite different character, and then no fragrance.
And as you mentioned several weeks ago, plants go through popularity. Yep, they go through fads, and that's one right now that, especially for street trees and the people are planting everywhere, it's just absolutely beautiful this time.
It is, and it almost borders on overuse now. And I'm going to say 50 years ago, a nurseryman that I really enjoyed his plant knowledge, kept trying to get me and others to use Japanese tree lilac. It's one of the best trees out there, etc. It was out of phase at that point, and until I observed a few and saw them in his nursery, I didn't pay a bit of attention to them. And then all of a sudden, I started using them. All of a sudden, everybody in the nursery business was growing them. And what a joy they are, because, like you say, just like clothing fads, hemlines, high or low, striped suits or not, that's the way plants go, too.
Hey, thanks again for listening to our podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our other podcasts as well, the Plant of the Week podcast and the Plant Talk Radio podcast, all on iTunes or your favorite podcast player. If you'd like to sponsor a daily podcast, contact us at fred@planttalkradio.com. To find out more about Fred Howard and Plant Talk Radio, visit our website, planttalkradio.com.
Circle270media.com